So while this is totally a question I can just look up the answer to myself and I don't need to like publicize this, I thought it would be more interesting if I animated this question and had people in the comments try to answer it and give like legitimate responses and see if somebody can answer this thing for me. So the question I have has to do with audio, whether the sound source comes from a megaphone or a cell phone or like the flap of a bug's wings. It doesn't really matter. There is a sound source, and as we know, the energy of that sound dissipates, outwards in spheres, meaning that if you're an observer, the further away you are from the sound source, in other words, the further you are from the center point, the quieter that it will sound to you, which of course makes sense. Now, something that might be surprising to you if you didn't learn about this before is that this sound fall off follows a inverse square law, which basically means if you go 2 times further away from the sound source, it's actually going to be 4 times as quiet. And if you go 3 times as far away, it's going to be 9 times as quiet. You basically take the square of, how much further you went away. And the reason for this is because we live in a 3-dimensional world, and then the sound energy propagates out in spheres. In other words, the kind of energy is carried out by the surface area of the sphere. Because the surface area equation is dependent on the square, meaning, the surface area grows relative to a quadratic, the further out you are, of course, you're going to hear this inverse square because you're capturing less of this original sphere. But here is where the question lies. All of this also implies that if you go twice as close to the sound source, it's going to get 4 times as louder. If you go 4 times closer, it's going to get 16 times as louder, etc. This means you can keep coming twice as close, like over and over and over again, kind of like halving the distance every single time. Each time it's going to double in volume, meaning that as you get like infinitely and infinitely close, this thing should be getting infinitely loud, at least by like this like inverse like square relationship equation. And we know that the original like energy or volume or whatever is not, of infinite power. So I don't really understand how that works, right? No matter how like quiet it is to begin with. So yeah, it could be a small number. When you take that and keep multiplying by 2 again and again and again and again, all of these things kind of diverge off to infinity. So my question is, why is it that when you go like right up to a sound source, you get as close as you can? Why is it not infinitely loud like this equation might imply that it is? If you know the answer, please post a comment.